Greetings, folks, and welcome to Vinyl Therapy Sessions, the YOUTOOZ versus Funko Pop Saitama edition. I am your host, Coco Smooth, and this one's going to be a long video, folks, because this is going to be different from anything that I've ever really done as far as videos are concerned. I'm actually going to give a real deep look into, the ups, downs, the plus, minuses of the pros and cons of having to choose between YOUTOOZ and Funko Pop. For now, the first initial part of the test, or which is better, we're going to start with a package, right? So off the bat, off rip, I'm just going to tell you straight up that this is going to be beat Pops every day of the week. Here's the reason why. I know you could see the Pop here and you're wondering, well, you can't really see the Pop, but hear me out. These things, YOUTOOZ already comes with the protector. You don't have to buy a protector separately. It's just already there. And you could also see the product, too, if you choose to display it that way, right? You have options. It comes with a sleeve, a protective sleeve of all things. And the art of the sleeve is actually really gosh dang cool, right? There's a lot going on. But the problem I would have to say with something like this protective sleeve and art and all that kind of stuff is that it's there's more stuff to be wrecked that can be wrecked and for mintiness tests, right? So if you were to test for mintiness on something like this versus that, it's kind of, the more things involved in this, the more of a chance that something will have a ding, scratch, or bent, or something that will automatically disqualify, for not in as far as mintiness is concerned. Pops are pretty much universal. It's just the box. Unfortunately, this did not come, with the protector. I had to buy the protector separately, and these things I buy them in bulk, so I get them cheap when you buy them in bulk, but if you were to go to a collector store that sells them individually, they usually charge $1 or $2 depending on the protector, that kind of thing. I use it's between vaulted vinyl, which is the premium protector, 5mm protector, in my opinion. And then since I'm buying in bulk, sometimes the chalice protectors, right? Because I got so many gosh dang Pops, I can't, there are times when I just can't afford vaulted vinyl, vinyl all the time. So, I definitely put vaulted vinyl for my more premium stuff and chalice for, not as premium, stuff. But yeah, as you can see, the package is universal. Pops, it doesn't change. No matter what Pop it is, this is what their formula is. It's always going to have this and always going to have, what's in the, the back, right? It's always this universal. I guess they save money this way. It's always going to have the art here, it's always going to be this way. YOUTOOZ, similar, however, to be fair, sometimes the sleeve, like in this case, there is there's a protective sleeve, right? Like I already showed you. Sometimes I'm gonna show you guys. Like you see across the, it's the whole thing is covered, and there's no way you could tell what the product is like until you open it out of the gosh dang protector and take the protective sleeve out, and then you get to see it the way I showed you. But sometimes they're packaged like this, right? They already have the, like a Funko Pop already got it with the protector has a transparency thing in there, so you could that the figure inside is exposed, right? In this case, but in some cases, like Saitama and Naruto, it's all covered, and you have to pull out so you can't see the figure. So that's the the minus. But the thing is, by the time you're ordering this YOUTOOZ, which again, the problem with YOUTOOZ is it's not as accessible as Pops. You're going to see what the figure looks like. That's before you even buy this thing in general, because you've seen it, most likely seen the figure in a gosh dang Instagram uh, page, in the YouTube's Instagram page, or Facebook. You're not just going to see this, arbitrarily anywhere, because nobody, unless you're somebody, unless you see it in a review video like mine's, right? But no, nowhere else will you just kind of see pictures of this thing to know what to buy. You know what I mean? You're gonna already have done a little bit of research before picking this up, so you already know as a customer what you're getting inside. So it's almost a moot point trying to figure out the guess. Now, however, to be fair, the casual customer walking around a con for somebody trying to sell YouTube's isn't going to be able to see what the heck's in here. And they're like, well, what's this about? So there is the con, right, in this, right? If you're trying to convince somebody to purchase this, they have no clue. All they see is this picture. What is it? It says vinyl figure, but okay, what's it look like? So that can be a problem. Also, with the packaging, it's one of the things that Pops don't do. Sometimes they do, but not really. They have all sorts of these quotes here that YouTube's does. YouTube's does. YouTube's does. Oh man, see, this is something that YouTube's does all the time. I don't say for every single one, but for the majority, they have a saying here, and if I may, there's a saying in the lid. I mean, the the top part of the cover. Let me show you guys. See, I don't do this hero thing for your admiration. I do it because I want to. See, these really clever things, the well thought up stuff, and the art that's drawn in the in the package is a win. Yeah, in my opinion, YouTube's whips Pops buns in that capacity. Does it justify the $30 price range? Probably not, though. I don't, this should be more of like a $20 price range, I guess. But I don't know how it is that I think it's because of the lesser print run versus the more print run on this, which is what allows them to have to charge. They're capable of charging less for Pops versus YouTube's. They probably have a much lower print run for stuff, which again makes it more collectible, but harder to get the culture to be exposed to this, because it's just not out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. On the plus is it's collectible as heck, because it's when people start to catch on, oh, I need this. A lot of people just missed out on the boat. Missed the boat. But while Pops, things are a little bit more accessible. There's more conventions geared towards Pops. There is no conventions geared towards YouTube's as of yet. Heck, everywhere I go in the scalper community, this is just not as a thing quite yet. I'm as an optimist, I have a feeling that if this does catch on, it's gonna do well. But the realist in me says that it's not gonna catch on quite like Pops is. Plus, there's just no competing. This thing has been in the culture for too long. This is almost like CGC versus CBCS kind of battle going on. It's hard to break from something that's already been kind of established for over a decade. Funko is just that name. It's already been in the geek community forever. YouTube is trying to break in that new dynamic thing, but I don't know. Coke has just kind of been around. So when Tab or Dr. Pepper want to try to play it, it's kind of it's just kind of it is just that thing, right? So yeah. So next, I'm going to do the verses on the out of package next, right? And this is what they look like out of the package. As you can see, the YOUTOOZ definitely has a more dynamic pose, which is what they're allowed to. They don't have like a set kind of template that pops have a tendency to do. Pop has a tendency of doing an A stance, with just the head. That was their shtick for a while. But because the head is so big and that's the way the stylized thing of pops are, it's much harder for them to do stuff like other poses because the head is just in the gosh dang way because they were bobblehead, kind of company. You can't have Saitama raising his hands next to his ears. Just not going to happen, right? So, and you can't do sort of omen sight beyond sight, kind of pose with Thundercats, just because again, the way the pop stylized stuff works, there's just no way they could do iconic stuff. Where else YOUTOOZ, they're not constrained. They don't have the same constraints as Pops does when they do these designs. Um, I wish they had a better Funko Pop with, to be fair, Saitama being, with his grocery bags. It's just kind of whatevs. This is something that I would expect more from YOUTOOZ, believe it or not, as far as because YOUTOOZ, some of the stuff that they do is questionable too. There were so many things that I wanted to get, but I'm like, yo, man, I don't know about that pose. But in this case, strictly speaking of Saitama, um, yeah, no, just look at all the detail underneath here, the cape and the zipper, the belt, just all the all that going on, art design. And uh, if you're talking about weight strictly, they're both the same weight. But as far as like sculpting and that, I feel that you get more obviously from this. Um, I can't tell you guys how to appreciate, because if you're a pop person to begin with, you're just gonna like and love the uniformity and the congruency of the eyes. That's just the way it is. No mouth situation. And YOUTOOZ, while they get to allowed to do more free reign stuff, no matter what, their constraint is their eyes. There's no going around that. So when you see the crow, it's hard to maintain to do a stoic look uh, with these eyes. No matter it would just I don't know. They just have to find creative ways to work with it artistically to make it look stoic, but it's difficult. That's just the problem. The constraints with YOUTOOZ, right? Strictly speaking, if I had to choose between the two, in conclusion, would just, and I'm just basing this off the product outside of the package. I think I'd have more. I think I'm leaning more towards the YouTube stuff, just because there's a lot going on, right? But in the same token, it's so difficult for somebody like me who's so accustomed and who already kind of likes the way pops look in general, right? Um, a huge homerism part of me is hard to let go. It's hard to be objective, right? Because I'm just a slave to my nostalgic feels of having collected pops for much longer than YouTube's, right? But strictly speaking on, yeah, look, there's just so much more going on, and yeah, on a YouTube's than on a pop. But to be fair, uh, it's easier to sell a pop than it is a YouTube's because YouTube's is just not a known brand right now. Um, so yeah. Um, so final thoughts on just the figure version, just the figure aspect, not the whole overall thing. That's coming up next. Um, I'd say that it's a oh my gosh, this by a hair, just by a hair. Did YouTube's just won by a very small hair worth of if I had to moving forward. I think as far as the way it look the pose and stuff look like, you know, and the overall quality of the figure. Okay. All right. Now the next part is going to be my final thoughts in general. So final thoughts. Overall, based on the criteria, the first criteria being packaging. Packaging, YOUTOOZ kicks Pop's ass all across the board. Okay. Um, it's yeah, it's got it already comes with a protector, a plastic, I'm sorry, like vinyl protector, right? And uh, it also comes with a protective sleeve, as I demonstrated in the beginning, right? So on packaging, YOUTOOZ, just owns, pop in general, right? The art and all the sayings that it says on the gosh dang, you know, package. Uh, Part two, initial price point. Uh, this Pops win because at least back then, a Saitama was only a $10 pop back then versus a $29 price point from the YOUTOOZ site itself, and it varies at Amazon and other sites. Right now, I was fortunate that Netflix was selling the Netflix.com was selling this for cheap, much cheaper than the $30 price point. I believe it's $23 or $24, $23.99 on sale at Netflix.com. Right. Um, so yeah, that's where it wins. The pop wins based on the initial price point. This is more accessible to the common person. It is harder to get YOUTOOZ because YOUTOOZ are just good luck. This is just something that you're just most likely going to find if it's out in the wild. You're only going to find this out in the wild in like places like FYE, maybe Hot Topic, and maybe GameStop because they have one GameStop exclusive, that I could think of off the top of the head, which was for Dr. Stone, right? But yeah, you're good luck trying to find YOUTOOZ anywhere. These are just not, at least where I'm from, something that you can just go and find and get. Now, also, to be fair, even in the secondary market, I go to all sorts of different places in Southern California where pops, or like places like Frankensons, conventions, shows. Ain't nobody selling YOUTOOZ. You're not going to find YOUTOOZ. So it's still too new or whatever. It just hasn't been part of the culture long enough. Um, I've seen a couple of off, maybe in a conventions, like maybe the one booth that was selling a YOUTOOZ, and it was Chainsaw Man. That's one of the first time I've ever seen a YOUTOOZ. Like, YOUTOOZ, that's a pop one. But it was enough to intrigue me. Many, as I sat back thinking about when is Pops going to do a Chainsaw Man, ended up doing, the YOUTOOZ instead for Chainsaw Man, and it's kind of what led to me going on YOUTOOZ in general, right? So yeah, the price, but unfortunately, like the price point and accessibility, pop wins. You're just not going to see this anywhere, and you have to go shopping online for this, and it'll be hard to find. If you're very particular about a package, yeah, good luck sorting through, that it's going to show up mint. But the good news is, um, these things already come in a protector, and for the most part, they come in pretty mint, right? Now, the good news too is that Pops is going to be. Hasn't been counterfeited yet, as far as I know, but Pops have. This has. I don't know if anyone will want to counterfeit gosh dang Saitama. He's not a Grail piece yet, so there's nothing like that at the moment. But yeah, that's how that goes. But yeah, so and when you and then the next criteria, I would say that it was a close tie. It's really subjective when it comes to um, the look of the actual figures itself, right? You're either a YOUTOOZ happy the eyes guy, or you're okay with the blank stare of the pop, right? Pop people knows what it is, right? Um, and so yeah, it's just and the problem with YOUTOOZ is sometimes I'm surprised they don't just do an A stance, right? But they decide to just go do whatever the heck they want, and some of the stuff that YouTube's does is questionable, make me not want to pick some of their stuff up, because I'm just like, what? Why'd you guys do that? You guys put this character kind of in a not so pleasant light, right? So, um, but yeah, uh, just just some of the things that they do. But overall, I would say, now this is tough. Like I said, for people who are more on the poorer side of stuff, Pops is the way to go. The price point for YouTube's is $30. Uh, that's almost twice the price of what Pops are. They're going for like 13 to $15 now, depending on what's up, Hot Topic and stuff. But yeah, uh, it really depends. If YouTube's ever catches on, which I don't know, I think it's hard to fight something that's a culture that's already been established in Pops, right? Compete, this is not gonna compete. Just like those sodas, while sodas are cool, they're not gonna. As for investment purposes, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see them overtaking Pops in general, right? It's just, this might just be a little too niche, and that's the problem. You can't liquidate. It's hard. It's more difficult to liquidate things that are too niche, because the ones who really want it. But good luck. There's not that many of us, too. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where it can become a little bit of a problem. So yeah, I know this is a long video. It's intentional because I wanted to put deep thought into, you know, where YouTube's is versus Pop is in the market and the culture at the moment. And while aesthetically speaking, and some of the as product versus product, this is a pretty gosh dang good, product. But let's be realistic. We got to think projections of collectability and all this other stuff, to factor in. I don't know. Jeez, it just seems that Pops have a license to everything, and while these play well with each other too, with other, YouTube's play well with other YouTubes, sometimes Pops I think, may play better with other Pops than YouTube's plays with other YouTubes, even though they're close. But I'd say that other Pop figures play better than with each other than YouTube sometimes, because like of maybe a couple of size disparity. But the anime stuff will seem to mesh well, in my opinion, as far as um, YouTube's is concerned. So yeah. Well, all right, folks. That is all I got for this segment of Vinyl Therapy Sessions, the YOUTOOZ versus Funko Pop uh, discussion of Saitama. I am your host, Coco Smooth, and the next video is going to be about Genos, YOUTOOZ versus Funko Pop. So